There isn't enough money. It's too expensive. These are the mantras our client repeated like a prayer of poverty. She thought she was just being realistic, but her body was telling a story of confinement.
Today, we witness a profound transformation. We see how childhood trauma at school turned the very concept of discipline into a predator, causing our client to reject her own masculine strength. We learn that when we reject our father's bad money habits, we accidentally reject the internal structure we need to succeed. It is time to move from forced restriction to chosen power.
Welcome to Younique Yet Connected. I'm Nolitha and Itolokazi, the explorer of the unseen, the unheard and the untold, the space holder, seeker and sacred witness in the work of Systemic Family Constellation. As always, I'm not alone. Kinga and Nick are on the other side of the virtual. Over to you, Kings.
Thank you, Noli. Hello, dear listeners and co-editors and Nick. This is where we explore the hidden patterns that shape our lives. I am Kinga Siladi, facilitator and guide through the field where unseen truths rise to the surface. Together, we walk the invisible terrain of the family soul, where the wisdom that speaks is when the system reveals itself.
Thank you for joining our movement of translating the wisdom of systemic family constellations into a practical language that all of us can easily understand and, most importantly, implement in our daily lives. The cute doll and the ancestral match. Our client came to us with two very loud, unhelpful mantras. There is not enough money, and it's too expensive. She felt these were facts of life, but they functioned as psychological walls. She wanted to let them go and start with new beliefs. But the field doesn't work on positive thinking. It works on truth.
I asked her to choose a doll to represent her. This is a moment of externalization. The doll becomes the representative. She chose one because she found it cute. But then she immediately hesitated. She couldn't commit. This split in her choice was the first sign of her internal fragmentation.
She kept looking at another doll. When we brought that second doll in, her energy shifted. She recognized it as the ancestral wisdom of the female. It wasn't just one person. It was her maternal and paternal grandmothers merging into one supportive force.
This was a vital step. Often we feel we must choose between the mother's side and the father's side. But here, the field allowed them to join. This made her feel good. But she was still fixing things. She was picking at the doors, trying to remove invisible dust from the third door we called life.
This fixing is a symptom of judgment. We asked her, when was the first time you felt judged? Suddenly, a memory flooded back. She was a child at school. She had expected it to be a place of wonder, but it became a place of harsh confinement and constant evaluation.
She initially refused to bring school into the field. The resistance was her protection. But when she finally allowed it in, she was shocked. The school representative looked cute. The monster was just a small, structured box. This is the power of the field. It shrinks the trauma back to its actual size.
However, the trauma had left a residue. To her, discipline was synonymous with that school experience. It meant being forced, being judged, and being restricted. And because she associated money with discipline, she had turned having money into a form of entrapment.
If money requires discipline, and discipline is a prison, then her soul was choosing poverty as a way to stay free. Her mantras, not enough and too expensive, were her escape hatches from the prison of being an adult with resources.
The father's religious discipline. We needed to find a version of discipline that wasn't a punishment. We brought in representatives for the father and all his siblings. A whole row of ancestors stood before her. The client's first instinct was to push them away.
We discovered that her father's family lived with a very intense, sticky discipline based on their religious beliefs. To the client, this looked like another cage. But through healing sentences, we realized that for them, this was a chosen discipline.
They weren't being forced by an outside master. They were choosing a code that gave their lives meaning. This was the missing link. The client only knew forced discipline from school. She didn't know that inner chosen discipline was an option.
Her father was the outlier. He was seen as not good with money. Because of this, the client had subconsciously cut herself off from him. She didn't want to be weak like him, so she rejected his entire presence in her heart.
By rejecting her father, she had accidentally rejected her own male side. Systemically, the father represents the banks of the river. He provides the structure, the boundaries, and the linear logic needed to manage the flow of life and money.
She was trying to build a career using only her female wisdom, but she was missing the masculine strengths. She was like a river with no banks, beautiful and fluid, but unable to hold its own weight or reach its destination without spilling over.
We asked her to allow her father's family and her mother's family to stand behind her. We asked her to see that their religious discipline was their strength. It was their way of belonging. It was a devotion, not a confinement.
She felt the strength of the men. She realized that her father's weakness with money was just a surface story. His deeper heritage was one of profound inner structure. She began to see that discipline could be a gift he was trying to pass to her. You are still listening to Younique Yet Connected. The theme for this episode is the discipline of abundance, from forced restriction to inner choice. Remember to like, share, and subscribe at www.uniqueyetconnected.com.
Reclaiming the masculine money. Then came the most interesting movement, and she chose the representative for money. The person representing it felt like her own male side, the part of herself she had abandoned to stay loyal to her mother or her own judgments.
Because she judged her father, she had repressed her own masculine ability to manage wealth. She thought that to be good with money, she had to be someone else. But the money representative was already in her. He was her own internal authority.
She looked at this inner money man and felt a deep wave of relief. She had been living half a life. She had been trying to survive on female intuition alone, without the masculine action that turns intuition into profit.
We had to ask for her mother's blessing. Mother, please bless me as I accept my father's gift. Bless me as I take my male side back. We need the mother's permission to love the father's traits, otherwise we feel like we are betraying the female line.
With the mother's blessing, the male money representative stepped close. They merged. She didn't just have money. She was the owner of her own resources. We then brought in ancestral money to stand behind the entire line to support her.
The transformation was beautiful. The fourth discipline of the school, which created the not enough mantra, simply dissolved. In its place was inner discipline, which felt like a choice.
She realized that it's too expensive was just her way of saying, I'm afraid to make a choice. When she took her male side back, she realized she had the power to decide what was worth her life force.
The cute doll, the child, and the ancestral wisdom, the grandmothers, and the male side, the father, honey, all stood in alignment. She was finally whole. She stopped fixing life and simply stepped into it.
Reflection and practical application. We invite you to look at your own relationship with discipline. Do you see it as a schoolmaster with a ruler, or as a set of banks that allow your river to flow?
The inquiry. Close your eyes. Think of the phrase, "there isn't enough." Where do you feel that in your body? Is it a tightness in your chest or a weakness in your legs? Who are you loyal to when you stay in that scarcity? Think of your father. If you have judged him as bad with money, realize that you may have rejected your own masculine structure. You may be fighting your own ability to be disciplined because you don't want to be like him. The sentence. Say to your father, I see your struggle. I leave that with you. But I take your strengths, your heritage, and your discipline. I take my male side back into my heart so I can hold my own values.
By the end of the session, the bed with money father was no longer defined solely by his financial struggles. He was simply a human being who carried a deep inner structure, a gift of chosen discipline that he passed on to his daughter.
The client understood that we don't heal the pain by rejecting the source. We heal the pain by reclaiming the gift that came through that source. When she stopped judging her father's bad money, she finally found her own good banks.
We learned that the greatest act of self-love is an act of integration. You cannot love 50% of yourself, the female intuition side, while rejecting the other 50%, the masculine discipline side. You must claim the full 100% to hold your abundance.
Honor the judgment by acknowledging it, and then honor yourself by receiving the strengths you have spent a lifetime turning away from. Structure is not your enemy. It is the vessel for your freedom.
So, as you settle into your own rhythm after this episode, maybe ask yourself this deep, gentle question. Where in my life am I still blindly rejecting a necessary strength like discipline or authority because it came through a source I judge? And what relief awaits when I finally choose to see the unseen gift?
If this theme resonated, if you feel that subtle ache of being disconnected from your own power to choose, perhaps it is time to stop fighting the forced discipline of the past and reclaiming your inner balance.
Join us at Younique Yet Connected, because sometimes the greatest act of connection isn't with others, but with the masculine and feminine parts of ourselves we left behind.
Thank you for your contribution in helping us be chosen as a top 10 South Africa family podcast by FeedSpot. We are also thrilled to be ranked among the best 30 family therapy and best 10 family secrets podcasts by A Million Podcasts. To celebrate our growing community, join our monthly virtual connection circle every first Tuesday evening of the month. To receive your link, subscribe on our website www.youniqueyetconnected.com or check for updates on our socials at youniqueyetconnected.
In the next episode, we still share with you how the field reveals the roots, the repetition, and the release.
And along the way, we will guide you in understanding how this work can support your own healing, because the field doesn't just know my story, it knows yours too.
So, take a deep breath. Open your heart and join us as we share with you what the field knows.
Because sometimes what you are searching for isn't outside of you. It is waiting quietly in the field for you to remember.
A big thank you to you for listening to our episode, and to Nick Mons from That Guy Productions for making us sound fabulous and on point.
For episode 102, tune in on the 30th of August 2026 from 10 a.m. South African Standard Time for links and updates. Stay tuned to our Facebook and Instagram pages at Younique Yet Connected, Younique spelled Younique.
Stay unique, stay connected, and remember, you are one of a kind, and we can only create a really meaningful podcast together. Siyabulela, Kosonom, Bayadanki, thank you.
Thank you. Siyabulela, Kosonom, Bayadanki.